We're running late. All right, if I could please get everybody's attention, we'll go ahead and call today's Monday, May 18th legislative session to order at 5:32 PM. If I could please get everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you, everyone. Just remind our council about our shared beliefs of being open and honest and to be inquisitive. So if I could please get roll call. Present.
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 Present. Present.
And you got Cassandra. And okay. All right, what would well, do you want to do city staff real quick and then we'll all right, thank you. Council, what would you like to do about the absence of Ms. Morton this evening?
Move to approve her absence.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. I'll move us on to agenda approval. Mr. Tripp, is there any additions?
No additions, but when we get to item D, on item D, we'll ask that the council withdraw that from the agenda. So just one subtraction.
Item D, okay, the hours of operation.
Correct.
All right, council, what would you like to do about the agenda minus item D, which is the amendment or amending City Hall hours of operations?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Thank you, Ms. Bro. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. I don't see any call for announcements or presentations. Council reports. Any? Mr. Camacho? Ms. Cassandra, you got any? No.
Is the city doing anything for the retirement of J.C. Kennedy?
We have a plaque that's being purchased for Mr. Kennedy, and it'll be a post-retirement award, probably before the council to be able to provide that to him.
But nothing else, just the plaque?
No celebration in terms of like a large party. It wasn't something that he seemed specifically interested in having. There was a smaller celebration with his department on this past week, but Mr. Kennedy was not a fan of crowds and large gatherings in terms of having bigger celebrations.
All right, anything else? You look like you got a question. All right, that'll move us on to staff reports.
Any staff have reports? None from me.
I'll do a quick staff report from Public Works.
Okay.
Just to let council know, we are going to be submitting another grant application for our phase 1 US2 project. It is the Safe Streets for All application. It was applied for last year, so it was not that big of a lift to reapply for this year, but it'll be due on the 26th. That's all.
All right, anything, Chief?
Thank you, Chair and Council. Just a quick note. Glad to be back more and more every day. Today is the 34th year of service to this community. I started here 34 years ago at the Airway Heights Police Department the first time, and want to thank you for the honor to be able to serve as your chief and try to move this community and keep it safe every day. So thank you for the opportunity and honor, and proud of my team and all the great work they did while I was absent out on leave. Thank you.
You back full time now? You're still doing the limited scope?
Still doing limited scope. Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, Chief, thank you for your dedication, your service for 34 years. And I know you've been to a couple different entities in that time. So we're blessed to have you. Thank you. right.
Mr. Chair and Council, I have just a couple of different comments. Real quickly too, let me follow up on Mrs. Burrow's question earlier, reference Mr. Kennedy and a retirement party. So I neglected to mention, one of the things we did do was coordinate with Mr. Kennedy to ask if he desired a party. He expressed he did not want one. We also spent some time coordinating with the deputy director within the department about celebration and different opportunities in terms of ways to recognize Mr. Kennedy for his years of service, which culminated in the plaque that I referenced earlier. Also for reference on the agenda, there is a slight correction to the resolution number for the transportation impact fee. I think you have revised copies at your seat. Next update, the Public Safety Committee is scheduled to meet immediately following this meeting as Councilmember Camacho, Chair Bowman, and also Councilmember Quisnell, if she can join us on Zoom for that. Lastly, I just wanted to check in. Councilmember Burrow, you had raised a question last week about the use of park impact fees. I shared some different language around the RCWs on what the allowed uses are. I wanted to check in and see if that answered your questions or if you had subsequent questions or follow-up questions.
You send an email?
Yep. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, we could always get together after the meeting or at a different time. That concludes my report, unless the council has any other questions.
Well, the only question that I did have is, we've been in discussion for a long time, especially those members who have been in the community for a very, very long time and dedicated their service, employees, volunteers. We've noted that previously on potential of naming of streets and other, ways to honor those that have served the community for as long as they have. So, I would like to see, especially longstanding employees and department heads be honored in a way, especially when they have, 20 plus years of dedicated service to Airway Heights, in a way to, potentially add their name to the street list or to do something to further recognize them. And I know I've been an advocate of that for a very long time. And, that goes for council members as well, previous to me, that have been on council for 10 plus years, and dedicating their time and energy and gave back to this community. But yeah, I would definitely like to see that, if we could, to give further honor and recognition to those members of the community that have been here, within the city for a long time.
Just building on that, Mr. Chair, perhaps on Monday of next week, we could bring a review of the process, because council just revised that process. I want to say earlier this year, maybe the latter part of last year, in terms of street names and room names. And so we could walk through the process in terms of what are the steps necessary.
To add in their names.
Correct.
I know you worked on it a long time, Zach. So, okay, yeah. Would everybody be good with that? Bring it back. Okay, thank you, Mr. Tripp. And I don't have anything else. Anything?
No.
Okay. All right. We do have a public hearing this evening. So public hearing for the adoption and modification of transportation impact fees. So at this time, we will go ahead and start the public hearing at 5:41. Or is, of course, I'll just point that general direction.
Thank you. Study session on April 13th to go over this as well. So starting with that, just wanted to give you some background information. On December 10th, we did have a Plan Commission workshop to go over everything that you're going to see tonight. After that, we met with the development community last January 22nd and went through the full report and received good feedback and input. We took that information back, and some of the results, we had some land use numbers that were needed to be updated in the report itself to, of course, reflect the most current version of the comprehensive plan update that was going on. There was also a request to have more options, just like our missing middle has options in terms of the types of units. Our impact fees on our first version did not break it down into the different single family, accessory dwelling units, affordable housing kind of components. So that was great feedback we received as well. After we did the changes, we actually had a small decrease in the amount of impact fee by about $55. It went down after we made all the changes and fixes. After that, let's see if it'll move forward here. Come on. Don't know why it's not progressing. I'm going to stop sharing and go back in real quick. Okay. Let me do one more thing here. Take it out of that mode and go back in.
You're right.
Asked a few questions.
There it goes. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it in this mode because it's working in this mode. April 13th, as I mentioned, we were at study session to go through the TIF report verbally wise. And then May 13th, we went back to the Plan Commission, had a hearing. There was no additional testimony in terms of no one else showed up for the hearing, and Council or Plan Commission did pass under their resolution, which is 2026-0010, and that's what I have in front of you tonight. It passed 4-0 through Plan Commission. So that's a recommendation from Plan Commission for approval to City Council. Getting into the actual impact fees, just wanted to kind of go through it again in terms of what we're doing here. Impact fees must advance capital projects for growth. So it only can pay for expansion of the transportation system. It can't pay for current problems or past issues. So this is only look at future growth that we're expecting, and then the impact fees pay for that capacity for that future growth as it comes in. Obviously, having that direct benefit to development is part of the process that we have to show along the way. We included, of course, the city and development community in our partnership as we went through to develop it. And of course, making sure it's fair and balanced proportionally wise to development. And conversely, impact fees, as I mentioned, cannot handle or pay for existing issues out there, maintenance, operations costs. When you look at our 6-year program, that's what you're going to actually see me come back in June to start talking about getting that approved. Every year we come in front of council with a 6-year program that contains $64 million worth of improvements. Not all of those improvements fall under the capacity improvement definition, but we used that document as kind of our leader into understanding what we would want development to pay for as we continue to grow. So that's where we started in terms of using that as background information. Then, of course, we brought in, as I just mentioned, our comprehensive plan 20-year land use, and you're probably recognizing that 3,995 or 55 residential homes that Heather's been talking about quite often. This also reflects the square footage that we're expecting in the next 20 years worth of growth for commercial, office space, industrial. So all of those were brought into this impact fee study as well. In that 20-year analysis, of course, we're looking at that increase of over 90,000 weekday trips reflected in the growth, again, based on the numbers that we're at here with the 3955. So going on from there, obviously issues with SEPA have been the biggest concern with development before we had impact fees, which I believe came on in 2020 in terms of part of the city's system going from a SEPA process to the impact fee process. And just really quick, that SEPA process was one-to-one with each individual developer. It was a standalone traffic analysis, impact analysis, that was required. It was never a known quantity, how it was going to end for that developer. So there's just a lot of unknowns, a lot of time and expense. And then someone right next door would have to produce their own traffic impact analysis. So from a development standpoint, I believe they see impact fees as a much more efficient, understandable, straightforward. They can just plan for that number and move on, kind of a process for them. So I think that kind of reflects the fact that we haven't had a lot of feedback beyond that initial one-on-one we had with development before in January. Impact fees are authorized through our RCWs as well as WACs, as well as our own municipal code in terms of 1218 and 1219, where we're looking for participation to help address the shortfalls that we have in terms of we can't, obviously the 64 million, there's going to be a lot of grant writing. And then obviously the impact fees are also going to participate in helping overall our 6-year programming work. Consistent and fair is definitely baked into the process that we're doing with the municipal code as well. Holistic approach with our streets. So impact fees do pay for a path as well as what's going on between the curbs for cars. And as I mentioned, it's definitely, I think, a more fair and equitable process for development as we move forward. So this is what the map looks like in the impact fee report in terms of all the locations that we're talking about trying to fund. When you go through our 6-year program, which I mentioned was the 64 million, about 31 million of that is in fact impact fee related. So we've now kind of put that in half, that we're trying to now work between developer pay and city, figuring out how to pay through grant writing is how that breakdown works. We will look for to support all the unfunded or partially funded projects in the TIP as mentioned. And this coming out of our own municipal code, looking to development for concurrency. So again, they can pay that fee, meet concurrency and move on. That's a very important factor for efficiency for development as well. Our code talks about a 10-year service period. So we were looking at that next 10 years, and that's why that focuses on that 6-year program so much. And then we will now split that 31 million 50-50. That's also in our municipal code, that we would only go up to a 50-50. State law allows you to go up to 95% you could put on development. Our code says 50-50. So that's how we ran the analysis in our report, is a 50-50 split there. This is a snapshot of from the report. The larger tablet over there on the right, that's actually what it kind of boils down to for folks. A single family home coming in will pay $3,346. That's a known quantity for a developer to come in, figure out what their costs are. Again, work that into their own financial outlays and move forward in terms of when they come in for that building permit, they pay that impact fee. And again, they've known that all along in terms of that easy to understand process. Light industrial comes out to be the $1,763 per square for 1,000 square feet. And the same thing, general office has got the 4,000 in the shopping center retail areas. But this is a pretty standardized way across the country in terms of breaking down land uses into different, what they're building. Is it, commercial, is industrial, and then they can go through their table here and find out what their cost is. But these are reflecting our report and putting it into, again, a pretty well utilized methodology. Any questions?
So just for understanding, if a shopping center wants to come in here, their impact fee would be 7,000 per, let's say it's a $4,000
feet.
So that would be 7,000 times
Every square foot, exactly.
times 4. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So again, the 3,598 is about $55 reduction from our first run. And then we got that input from the development community, and this is where it landed. And every time we updated it, everybody that was invited to the development meeting, because not everyone obviously showed to our first meeting in January, everyone still got all the information out there. So again, it speaks volumes that I have received no feedback beyond the initial the work. So this is also in line with our region in terms of what the city of Spokane is charging is actually a bit higher than what we have. So it's kind of our neighbor at this point.
Okay.
So that's all I had for the presentation. And like I said, later on in resolutions coming up here at 2026-007, that's what that resolution is about for council, is to approve that.
All right. Well, at this time, is there anybody from the public who would like to address the adoption modification of transportation impact fees? Not seeing anybody from online. All right. Well, at this time, we will go ahead and stop the public hearing at 5:52 p.m. And then, Tara, did you get that Miss Morton came on at 5? Okay, 5:45. All right. All right, that'll move us on to the consent agenda. Item CA1 is the request approval for the meeting minutes from May 4th, 2026. CA2 is for meeting minutes, the approval for May 11th, 2026. And then item CA3 is going to be a purchase approval registry in the amount of $34,771.50 to Payne Hamlin. Council, what would we like to do about the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Motion, do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. All right, any questions or comments? Not seeing any, all those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to item A, the appointment of Michelle London for the Arts Commission. Mr. Becker, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. A member of the public, Michelle Lundy, has submitted an application to fill one of the vacant art commission seats. We currently have two. Per AHMC 2.19.050C3, any vacancy that results from an expired term or resignation shall be filled by the city council. Staff is requesting that the council review the application that's attached in your packet, and if they're so inclined, to appoint Ms. Lundy to a 4-year term on the city's Arts Commission.
All right, council, what would we like to do about the appointment of Michelle Lundy to the Arts Commission?
Move to approve the appointment.
Motion, do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any questions or comments? Seeing any, all those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Becker.
Thank you.
All right, that'll move us on to Ms. Miller. Item B is going to be the Public Works Facility Modernization. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Would look like. Thank you. The council had approved last year that we go through a initial assessment of what it would cost to replace the existing facility that we have today for the Public Works building. We've completed that work, and these are the images that are coming out of that process. Just to orient everybody, Public Works building is located off of 21st and Russell. In the red is the full property that the city of Airway Heights owns. The current location of the core of Public Works building is right where my cursor is under the current location statement. And it's located here in the south, almost mid there of the city of Airway Heights. The existing building is far outdated. I believe it was an initial shop. You can see the old door for the shop space. Right behind that old door is the space where we have everyone placed in there for working conditions. You've got your lunchroom and your workspace all in one area. You can kind of see the light of day through here in terms of it's not a sealed building at all. Air comes in, dust comes in through pretty much every orifice of our area. It's, again, pretty outdated. I won't spend much time on that. The building layout was intended, the analysis was intended just to understand conceptually where we're talking about for cost for the next step. I don't expect the final design to be exactly this, but it basically was trying to capture the space we would need not only to handle our staffing today, but to be able to grow with the community as well. So we did go through a space analysis, try to lay out what it would look like potentially into the future and allocate space to all the work items. We also looked at a generic layout of the overall property, just to make sure we weren't placing this building in an orientation or a way that didn't make sense when you consider the whole property. Some very light initial work was done on that process, but most 99% of the process was focused on what that actual building would look like, again, to come up with a cost. So these are just some renditions of what the building potentially would look like. We'd want to make sure we obviously are building this to maximize solar power as a potential. We would certainly have it plumbed for a future electrification of our fleet. Right now, you wouldn't see dump trucks and those kind of things electrified because the technology just simply isn't there. But we should certainly be thinking in the future about the conduits and the ability to set that up in the future. So that'll be in part of our process as well. Everything underground, we want to make sure conduits are in place, but if we actually stand up the equipment, we'll see. We would certainly start with any electrification with our smaller kind of more personal truck vehicles versus obviously large dump truck vehicles. So out of this process came a cost. Looking at today's dollars, about $2.8 million when you consider, again, all of the utilities it takes just to get into the facility that I've shown you here. And the work on the property. We have to, of course, meet all of our current standards. So we'd be doing road improvements on Russell outside the new building in terms of those kinds of improvements. And then the on-site, of course, all of our paving that we would need to do that has to go with the building. So that's what's encompassed in that 2.8. Not knowing exactly when we're going to build, I went ahead and had them project out to 2030 in terms of what those costs potentially could include. So I used the I rounded up to 3.5 million in terms of a potential cost to figure out the next step, which is your design step. Typically, it's about 15% of your cost. So taking that 15% and looking at one other item, which is to, at this point, taking that next step in the process to get to design phase, I would also like to accomplish a second goal, which would be to design out the entire property. Not that we'd come back to build everything, but I think it's important at this stage to go ahead and design everything so we know it works well. It's compatible with, with all the movements that we have to have on this site in terms of all the operations that we do. So we'd have it all done under one design, and then we'll understand through that process what we'd be able to afford for actual construction. So it's a combination of bonding, utility rates, all the above. We still have to work through those details, but you would typically do that through your design phase as well. So well before we complete our design, we would come back with a package of how to fund this as well. So looking for a $525,000 cost for the next phase. The breakdown would be a third from water, a third from streets, and a third from sewer. And then I'd break down the street one even further and break that in half to go to gas tax and TBD. Starting the design this year means we would likely be done next year. Some of our previous conversations and study sessions has been around our gas tax money and what's in that fund. It's not a deep fund, and I need a little time to program and budget that into 2027. So I expect any gas tax money to come in 2027 at the earliest. So we'd use our other funding sources first and be the last bill in with the gas tax money. So that's how I would kind of manage the lower cost or the lower amounts that we have in the gas tax fund. So that's what I have for you in terms of if there's any questions. My goal tonight is to get approval to move forward with our next phase, which is design.
All right, council, what would you like to do about design phase of Public Works Facility Modernization?
Chair and council, I move to approve the Public Works Facility Modernization Design Funding Request.
Second. I have a motion, I have a second. Any questions or comments? Any, all those in favor? Passed unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Miller. I'll move us on to item C, which is going to be the council consideration to approve the upgrades for Sunset Elementary crosswalk at Lawson and 10th. Floor is yours again.
I've asked Jerry Richards to go ahead and cover that. Thank you.
Hello, council. Thanks for meeting with me tonight. We got a call from the principal at Sunset Elementary, and we've had a call from a concerned citizen at the crossing at 10th and Lawson. When the kids get out of school, they exit the north side of the building. They seem to migrate to the 10th and Lawson Road and cross there. There's no crossing there. So what we're asking is to put in a crossing with the ADA ramp installed on the west side of Lawson where their old curb is. But that means that we would have to change the angle of the other two ADA ramps also to be in compliance. I checked with the principal. I sent an email on Tuesday after our meeting to the principal to ask if that would be a intersection where the crossing guards would be. no response from the principal. Went out last Thursday and noticed that a lot of the parents wait on the east side of 10th and Lawson for their kids to cross the street to take them home also. So we're looking or asking permission if we can put a crosswalk in there for the safety of the kids to cross the street. And I think so we're asking for $26,000.72 for the construction of the crosswalk, coming from the gas taxes, which Miss Catherine found out the reserves.
So the question from our study was the reserves on the gas tax. As of January 1st, there was 58,000 in the reserves as of January 1st, and we are scheduled to receive an additional 220,000 throughout the year. Those dollars, the 220, are budgeted for the 2026 budget. So it effectively leaves that 58,000 that we would be drawing from. So if we spent the 26,000, we'd have 32,000 in reserve, if you will, in that fund.
And
What is that fund typically used for?
So gas tax funds can go towards our local road work. And so the work we're doing for crack sealing that you're seeing going out in the community, it started a couple of weeks ago. You're going to see it throughout the summer. Anything on local streets that we're doing, striping of paint, crack sealing is basically the work we're doing right now in the local street areas. And of course, it's also a matching money potential source for any grant writing.
And the construction process would entail us taking care of the traffic control and the city public works painting of the crosswalks.
And those costs are included in the 26,000.
Right. Any questions or additional comments on this?
This is a
All right.
tough one for me because the whole Sunset Park area is surrounded by unprotected intersections. I think it's on the onus of the school principal to direct the students to the applicable crosswalks. I mean, who said they can just dart anywhere, not getting a response from emails also doesn't bode well with me. So I can't support it.
All right. And then Cassandra, go ahead. One second. I don't think.
Mute her.
Nope, still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Sorry about that. So a concern that I have, I am like not in agreement with this because I literally drove around that school today. There is one crosswalk that has crossing guards. It is the one on King Street, not at the corner, but closer to the entry and exit gate for the students. And nobody's paying attention. We watched several cars run through the intersections. So if they want to do something, there's got to be more than just a crosswalk. And the school needs to, put an effort into doing something. When my kids went there a few years ago, they had a 5th grade crosswalk team with adult oversight. Every crosswalk had 2, 3 5th graders with at least one adult manning it. Right now, you have 2 adults manning one crosswalk. Yes, the kids that are crossing right there at Lawson, those are your northbound kids. Those are the kids going back to the traditions. They're the kids going into my neighborhood over behind the Brick Baptist Church. So I get the want to go over there, but at the same time, I'm not in support of it.
Sorry. All right. Well, any other council comments?
I just wanted to shoot this out there. We keep trying to address safety and stuff. Do we ever plan to put bumps anywhere?
Well, to be honest with you, speed bumps don't work very well with snow plows, which we get quite a bit of snow.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Because I see this all the time. I know that in the past, I've sat at that intersection and cars just didn't even stop, just went. If I would have taken off and not taken the time, he would have hit me. So yeah, that's why I just wanted to ask, because I don't see any bumps anywhere. And if is that the reason, the primary reason why for snow plows?
Yes. Snow plows, the ones we use, the dump trucks, they're not made to go over speed bumps at all.
I think it's also worth mentioning that the city in the past has tried for applications for improving sidewalks in areas around the school itself and have just not been successful in terms of, again, those are very competitive projects. I think it was the last one on King Street. Yeah, the last attempt was on King Street to try to finalize or finish, the missing sidewalks along King Street, specifically to help, kids safely maneuver around there.
Well, I will say it like this. There are ADA children that go to that school. And there is, physical disabilities and other stuff within Sunset Elementary. And we have an obligation, I believe, to provide them with safe crossing wherever they can. I mean, especially those with mobility needs and elsewhere, their parents are not able to pull up directly up front. So, or if, they have needs to get home into the local communities and areas around there. I know that, my in-laws that have since passed lived right there on 10th Avenue. Our nephew is now living in that house. We see children passing there all the time. It's a need. We need more crosswalks like that. We just did a study for ADA for all of Airway Heights and seeing how much of a need there is here in the local area. So this isn't just a crosswalk for the school. This is also going to be a crosswalk that individuals can use at any time. So, before we go against all that, and I understand people's, personal convictions and, their need to, obviously, vote however your heart desires, but there's a need within this community that's even further. I mean, we've been trying to get safe transportation, walking paths for, we've been trying to connect all of our sidewalks here for years and years because this community is in such great need. This is just one simple step. It's low hanging fruit. It's not that much money. That's the reality of this. It's not that much money. And if it can help kids get out of school at that time of need when the traffic is the busiest right there, with people possibly not paying attention, anything we can do for visibility's sake to make it safe for a kid to cross the street right there, I'm all for it. So that's just me. And I know I'm not trying to influence anybody's vote here or anything, but I just, I had to say that as well. Go ahead.
Would it help council if we had further conversations with the school to understand if they are going to deploy some kind of guard crossings? It was mentioned earlier on King Street, that kind of mid-block crossing. They do come out, they put cones out to make sure cars don't park so close that all of a sudden the child crossing the street disappears behind the hood of the car versus having more sight distance available to understand what their plans if this were to go in.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple, conversations on this, and I believe that everybody on this, on the council has a say, yea or nay, on this. So I say we bring it to a vote and see where it goes.
So I'm happy to bring it back in the sense of it can, this is an immediate project wise. We can get it done still this year. If you want more information, I'm just offering that I'm happy to get that done for you.
And I still think it's worth the time of seeing if we can get a hold of the school. I know when my kids were young, they had one at Lawson and 12th, King and 12th, and then also that one that's kind of that midway point on King. And when I say they had people there, it was that 5th grade program that Cassandra was talking about, but there was also an adult there. The only crosswalk that there is now that is monitored is that one further up on King. And I don't know why. I know that there is a whole ton of cars that park there. I can't, but then some people have to park down towards Highway 2 on King. And so they have to walk all the way down there. And while, yes, there is crosswalks, we know it works better if there's some person standing out there and it makes more of an impact for people to actually stop. So I do think it might be worthwhile for us to continue to reach out to the district, and it may require going above. It is springtime, it's testing, it's crazy for them. right now. But also maybe an email, and then you have a chain. And then if you're not getting a response back, then you can go and start CCing people above that particular person.
I suspect they're just busy. So like I said, I'm happy
Yeah.
to ask the questions and bring it back to council.
Well,
To let you know.
if we approve this now, would it be installed? Obviously, you said before the end of the year, but how about before the start of the new school year?
It would be installed in the summer when school's out of session.
So for the new school year coming
Yeah.
for
Yes.
But
twenty
us waiting a week and
26.
getting back to you won't stop that process is my point.
Yeah.
We can still get it in before school starts next year. If you'd like me to come back with more information, I don't see that as a time issue.
Okay, well, I mean, at this point, there's no other questions for it.
Yeah, I view this as a first step towards safety for the kids, and we have to start somewhere. It's not going to be perfect. Adult supervision is great, which is what we need. But yeah, this is a first step, and anything to do to enhance that is great. Now, I don't know if you're all familiar with the kid that was killed in Chandler, Arizona, coming right out of school, trying to cross the street to get some lunch. Well, that was my brother's grandson. And he was killed right there in front of the school. Having road guards out there, I believe there is a need for adult supervision. And that would enhance a lot of things, but getting back to the situation here, it's a first step for me. Is it better than nothing? Sure it is. And we can always move forward and add more, in the future. But yeah, I'm all for this.
Yeah.
We got to start somewhere.
Well, at this point in time, I'll bring it up. Is there anybody who'd like to bring a motion for this?
Motion to approve?
Yes. I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, that measure passes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you are welcome. That'll move us on to the item D, which is going to be amending the city hall. Oh, that one's stripping it. All right, that'll move us on to ordinance, item E, which is going to be the first read of ordinance C-1121, Airway Heights Municipal Code 14.09 for exemptions. Floor is yours, ma'am. Going to read it in the record first.
How do you want to do this? Do you want me to give a thing and then let you go, or do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about this in the study session last week. This is a package of 5 ordinances. These ordinances have to do with the passing of HB 1757, which has to do with the conversion of non-residential buildings to residential. So the ordinances from 1121 to 1125 provide standards within our municipal code to facilitate that. 1121 gives an exemption to transportation impact fees through 1409-080, which is required by state law. 22 allows for the permitted use of the conversions within our NFR zone. 23 allows the conversions to be permitted within the MFR zone. 24 allows them to be within the commercial zones as long as it's a function of a mixed use development. And 25 is a waiver of the parking requirements, which again is a portion of the law through HB 1757. So sorry, that's a lot, but
Oh, no.
figured
Right.
easier to do than go one by one. So
No. And then do you want to read it in the record?
Ordinance number C-1121, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 14.09.080 entitled Exemptions and providing for other matters related thereto.
All right, so this one, obviously, we're gonna see this next couple weeks. We'll see it a couple more times. So anytime we have a first read, unless it is an absolute necessity that we pass it, where we have to suspend the rules and whatnot, we'll always see them back. And I assume this one's gonna come back to us next week.
Along with the next one on your list as well.
We got a couple first reads on here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first reads. So all the first reads we'll see back in a. Okay. All right, that'll move us forward to ordinance C-1112 for the Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.06.030. You want to read that one in the record?
Ordinance number C 1122, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.06.030 entitled Permitted Uses and providing for other matters related thereto.
Becker? That was the second one? Okay. All right, well, the next one, did you talk about the next one already? Okay. All right, so if you want to, just go through the first readings of the next
Three.
couple.
Ordinance number C 1123, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.09.030 entitled Permitted Uses and providing for other matters related thereto. Ordinance number C 1124, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.10.040 entitled Allowed Uses and providing for other matters related thereto. Ordinance number C 1125, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.21.020 entitled Number of Off-Street Parking Spaces Required and providing for other matters related thereto.
All right, any further questions or comments to Mr. Becker on all the first reads? All the way through item I. All right, not seeing any, that'll move us on to item J. Second read of ordinance C 1126 Comcast franchise agreement. Mr. Becker or Mr. Tripp, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Chair and Council, this is the second reading of an ordinance that proposes an amendment to the franchise agreement with Comcast. Relative to the this particular ordinance, speaking of second readings, this was scheduled to be on your study session for last Monday. It was an oversight, so we have it on the agenda tonight for a second reading. And in view of that, be on your study session next week, and then we propose bringing it back for a third reading before council takes action on it. Since you saw it the last time, there's been no changes to the proposed ordinance.
So you want to bring it back for a third reading or just?
I would, because we had promised to bring it back to the study session and it wasn't on your study session last week. And so that'll give you time to ask any questions that you might have in reference to it.
Absolutely. Any questions or comments from Mr. Tripp on ordinance C 1126? All right, not seeing any, that'll move us on to resolutions. Item K, resolution 2026-007, amending transportation impact fees.
Thank you, council. This resolution comes in the heels of the hearing that was held tonight. Covered all the information during the hearing. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we are looking to get the amendment to the TIF, approved tonight. And just to cover real quick, resolution 26007, you should have in your packet as well.
And then do you want to read this one in the record?
This is actually resolution number 2026-010. It was incorrectly printed in the agenda. My apologies. No.
2026-007 is the correct resolution in front of council tonight. 0010 was the Plan Commission.
Okay.
Yeah, so, so Mr. Albert, Mr. Tripp actually addressed that. So we had the wrong one here printed out for us. This one is going to be 007, correct?
Correct. Just as a matter of practice, the Planning Commission uses a resolution number as well when they make a recommendation to City Council. That's why you have two resolutions, because that's the past practice. So the correct resolution for amendment is 2026-007 for council action.
The council, okay.
Thank you.
All right, council, what would you like to do about resolution 2026-007?
Move to approve.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Have a second. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, I passed unanimously. That'll move us on to 2026-008. Suppose if you would like to read that in the record.
Resolution 2026-008, a resolution setting the administrative fees as provided for in the Airway Heights Municipal Code.
All right, the floor is yours, ma'am.
This is an update to add the credit card fees for the rec center, passing them on to the individuals who use the credit card to pay their memberships or day passes.
Further questions or comments on this one? All right, council, what would we like to do about resolution 6008?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? A second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to 2026-009 fiscal policies. If you could please read that one in the record, and then the floor is all yours, ma'am.
Resolution 2026-009, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, adopting fiscal policies for the City of Airway Heights. I believe this was brought forward to the study session last week, but basically operating budget policies, revenue expenditure policies, things that we're already doing, but putting them in writing to confirm their practice.
All right, any questions or comments on 009? Council, what would we like to do?
Move to approve.
Motion, do I have a second? Adam first. All right. Well, if there is no other comments on this or questions, council, we've got a motion on first. All those in favor? All right, that too passes unanimously. That'll move us on to resolution 2026-011, council governance manual amendment. Please read that one in the record. The Mr. Tripp, floor is all yours, sir.
Resolution 2026-011, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending the rules of procedure for City Council.
Council, last week, you discussed making a couple of modifications to the rules of procedure. They included changes to section 2.2 as it relates to study sessions. You might recall previously there was not a provision within the study session rules of procedure to allow for public comment. That's since been changed to note that public comment is allowed during a study session. The council also discussed changing the number of minutes associated with the public comment from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. So that change has been added to section 2.2. It's also been noted in section 8.2, if I'm not mistaken, and also in other areas where public comment would have been identified as 5 minutes. Those have been changed to match 3 as well. Other than that, those were the only changes that we discussed. I think we also discussed just council attendance in general, but there were no proposed changes.
Okay. What would we like to do about the resolution 011?
Move to approve.
Motion, do I have a second? Thank you, Evan. All right, and if there's no other questions or comments on this, council, all those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. And that'll move us on to resolution 012 for 2026, authorization application for opportunity zone.
Resolution number 2026-010, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, authorizing and supporting an application for a redesignation of the city as an opportunity zone and providing for other matters properly related thereto.
All right. Grab forward.
Mr. Chair and Council, just by way of background, opportunity zones are federally designated areas meant to encourage investment in low-income communities, providing opportunities for capital gain tax benefits. The program was established back in 2017. During that particular time frame, the City of Airway Heights applied and was successfully designated as an opportunity zone. In 2025, the One Big Beautiful Bill made this zoning designation permanent, but it also provided for a 10-year cycle for review and redesignation. So due to that particular requirement, all states and communities who previously had a designation are going through a redesignation process. The city staff has been working on an application along with the attached letter of support that is included within your packet to be submitted to the Washington State Department of Commerce. That particular agency is going to be responsible for vetting the various apps that come forward and then making a recommendation for further approval for communities to be either redesignated or for new communities to be approved for an opportunity zone. Councilmember Campbell has been tracking this particular process and expressed interest and support for it. So I'll turn it over to Councilmember Campbell.
No, I think this is an important step for us. I'm not sure how well or able we were to take advantage of this under the previous system, but this system, it's been revamped. It's been given a 10-year lifespan. From what I've seen, from the federal websites, there's a considerable pot of money that could be attached to this. It puts us in a good place, I think, to try to attract businesses. And I would think particularly our commercial side and as we try to seek job providing organizations and companies to come here. And so I think this is a good step. The clock is ticking. I believe the closing date is the 28th of this month to get our application into the state. And for those who maybe aren't as familiar with this program, it's based essentially on economic demographics and the entire, I think the census tract, if I'm not mistaken, is the correct term, but basically all of Airway Heights qualifies because of our income levels. And so I think this could be nothing but a good thing for us.
And then, Mr. Tripp, can you also just discuss briefly the importance of what they are and what they do for, economic development and for business owners?
Sure, for certain. So, anytime there's a situation in which someone, a prospective investor, has a capital gains tax, I mean, that certainly represents a penalty in terms of how you utilize and put that type of working capital to work for you. So this program is designed to provide a vehicle by which it's encouraging an investor to invest in communities with this particular designation. And so if you can draw capital into a community for a variety of different areas that commerce is looking at, that's a benefit. A case in point, it's not a secret in terms of the number of houses within Washington State. That's a focus area for this particular overarching process for Washington State. And so they're taking a particular look at trying to encourage more housing to get on the ground. They're also trying to encourage additional commercial and industrial development as well. All of those things are needed within Airway Heights. We need additional housing, we need additional commercial, we need additional industrial development as well. So it has benefits for the community itself. It's exciting to look at what the next 10 years might look like. I was sharing with Councilmember Campbell, our previous experience with this is that the program provided an opportunity. It seemed to appeal to those who were already exploring the area and needed something just to get on the other side of the fence. My hope if we're able to be redesignated is that this is not only able to persuade those individuals to invest in the community, but to perhaps attract even outside investment, folks who weren't even considering Airway Heights as an opportunity and choose to be here as well.
So I just wanted to, state it that, temporary deferment of capital gains tax. And then there's also 139 designated OCs across 36 counties in the state of Washington that, it really does pump money into the communities because of the deferment of taxes. So it's trying to say, hey, come to my city, put your money here. And, you're going to have a reduction in your capital gains tax, over a certain amount of time, or at least a deferment of the taxes, which, if taxes do go up, I believe the opportunity zone also caps those taxes, correct, at the current rate.
Yeah, I can't speak to whether it caps it. I don't know that well.
If I remember, and that's why I was just trying to research right now. If I remember that it caps it, or it gives a general reduction of anywhere between 10 to 15% in those taxes, which is huge when somebody brings in a huge capital improvement project, right, to the local area. So yeah, it's very, very important. It actually increases property values as well when, being in an opportunity zone and having, the ability to pump funding in, it increases, I've heard from, different commercial developers, hey, this area is in an opportunity zone. So, we're going to, not only does it give tax benefits, but it also raises the property values a little bit. So, and traditionally they sell quicker, and there's a lot more to it than from what I've researched and what I've looked at in the past of the importance of this. So yeah, I think it's great.
So with council's consideration of the resolution you have before you tonight and the letter of support, council support, we would then send this off to Department of Commerce this week with a due date on May 28th. And then we would be officially in the running for redesignation. And hopefully there'll be consideration given that We have been we were designated an opportunity zone in the past, but there's still work to do in terms of encouraging more development to locate within the community.
Yeah. All right, council, what would you like to do about resolution 2026-012?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. I don't see any calls for any DVD citizen comments. Well, at this time, if there's anybody who would like to address council, go ahead and open the floor for public comment. I am not seeing any, and I don't think we had anybody sign up here. So from there, no call for any workshops, no executive sessions, and that means that we will adjourn at 6:33 p.m. Thank you, everyone.